Okay, students. So this is going to be your first foray into using Unity. Now, hopefully at this point you've created a copy of the template from the USB key, you've renamed it, and you've made it your own file. That'll allow you to have all sorts of packages already pre-installed. If you do not have that, you can go to the asset store and download the standard asset pack from Unity themselves. So here's how you start your first 3D world. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to Game Object, 3D Object, and you're going to create a terrain. Now, a terrain is a kind of a world. It's a big flat surface for you to put things on and modify. So my terrain here is actually quite large. Now, in order to use your terrain to modify it, you need to go over to the inspector. So on the right-hand side of your screen, up here at the top, there's going to be a tab called Inspector. You click on Inspector, and now you have some options for your terrain. So the first thing you're going to use is the Raise Lower Terrain option. This is where you can create mountains using different brushes. So if we use a flat brush, we make a flat mountain. If we use a bumpy brush, we make bumpy mountains. If you want to flatten your mountains, you hold Shift, and your mountains go flat again. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is we're going to paint our terrain. Right now our terrain is white. So we're going to do a generic grassy null kind of look here. We're going to go to Paint Texture, which is over here. It's this paintbrush. Then we're going to go down. See, we have no terrain textures defined. That means we have no colors to use. So we need to go to Edit Textures, click on it, Add Texture. Then we're going to go up here. We're going to use the left-hand side. Okay, we're going to use this one over here. And then we're going to type in grass. This will give us access to a couple grass textures. So what we want is this grassy hill one here. These two up here are for later when we start adding grass texture. This is just a paint. Okay, then we add, and boom, we're colored. Now our mountains, we don't want grassy, so we need to add another texture. So I go over to Edit Textures, Add Texture, back to the left-hand side again, type in grass. I want this rocky texture. So I double-click, I add, and then now if I want to paint using the rocky texture, I can click on the rocky texture, grab any paintbrush I want, and start painting. And my mountains are now gray. The next thing we can add is a couple trees. So if you take a look at your options, there's one that looks like trees. That's our tree option. So we click Paint Trees. And if you look here, it gives you a kind of a tutorial about how to use the textures. So anyway, we click Edit Trees. We have to add trees because we have no trees added. Now this is where it's a little tricky. This little tiny dot over here is how we fill in this blank here. So we go over the little dot, and we're going to scroll down until we see Broadleaf Tree. These are tree textures. So I grab a tree, I click Add, and then I can paint trees. Now I just go over the map and click, and trees will start sprouting on my map. Next, I'm going to add some grass. So I'm going to go over to the paint details. This is painting grass, flowers, all those little tiny things that stick up. Instead of trees, you can run through them. They don't hinder your movement. They're just there to be pretty. So we go to Edit Details. We add a grass texture. And then we have to add that grass that I showed you earlier. This one up here, the front look. We add, and then we can paint some grass. Now you don't see it because we're so far away, but if we zoom in, you'll see that we have grass. Big leafy grass flowing. You can change the amount of grass you want. You can change the strength. You can change everything so that there's less grass everywhere. Okay? That's sort of the basis of doing a terrain. You can pretty much, at this point, completely build an entire elaborate world without using anything else. Okay?